Baki-Duo, the Invincible Samurai, episode 6. Oh yes, we gotta get into it. You heard that sound. Now, if you remember last episode, Miyamoto was in the city, dropped police officers, he made the news, and you got the likes of Doppo, Katsumi, Jack, all watching him on TV. And we got Motobe saying that he gotta protect Doppo, Baki, Yujiro from Miyamoto. And we about to see what goes down in this episode. Like and subscribe, and we gonna get into it right now. So the episode starts off with these two crime-violent investigators, Kosumitsu and Hikachi. Now, this is at night, and they're walking down the street, and they spot Miyamoto. So they start looking him up and down. Yeah, he's barefooted. He looks older. He fits the description of Miyamoto. So then they start following Miyamoto, and then all of a sudden, Miyamoto turns around, and he smiles at them, and then he jumps in the air, and he ends up landing on Tokugawa's residence. So of course, we got Hikachi and Kosumitsu running after Miyamoto and realizing that he actually is at Tokugawa's residence. Well, so Kosumitsu and Hikachi end up contacting the police chief to notify them about Miyamoto being at Tokugawa's residence. So the police chief goes to Tokugawa's residence and says, hey, we spotted Miyamoto at your residence. He's considered armed and dangerous. We're investigating him. And like a boss, Tokugawa says, look, don't even worry about it. Tell your boss, the superintendent general, to stop investigating him. Leave him alone. You know what type of pull that Tokugawa must have to be able to tell the superintendent general, who's over everybody, to, hey, leave him be. Leave him alone. Don't mess with him. But he's actually trying to save their lives, because if they continue to mess with Miyamoto, they might wind up dead. And the police chief ended up bowing down, saying, sir, yes, sir, I'll make sure I forward that information to the superintendent general. Woo-hoo-hoo! Love Tokugawa. So Doppo comes to visit Tokugawa. They're sitting down, and Doppo is really believing that that is the real Miyamoto, talking about how he is quicker than any swordsman up to date, and that he wants to meet Miyamoto. Well, before Tokugawa could even say anything, guess who shows up? Miyamoto. Yo, so Miyamoto walks in and he's like, hey, Tokugawa, I am hungry. And Tokugawa is like, what do you make of the man that's sitting down right here, right? And you know what Tokugawa says? I can finish him off before the meal. And then Tokugawa was like, yo, this is the god of martial arts. Are you serious? And he gets on his knees and he's like, yep. Oh my gosh, the confidence and the disrespect at the same damn time. So Doppo is giving Miyamoto his flowers, telling him that he's a legend, and he's flattered that he is even going to be able to engage into a sparring match with him. But this is the crazy thing. Miyamoto said that he's being restrained because he tried to, pull out his swords 3 times and he was being held down. Interesting. So Tokugawa was like, hey, don't you want to eat first, Miyamoto? And Miyamoto was like, nah, I'd rather fight. So they go to a open dojo to get it on. But before that, Tokugawa was like, look, I want Doppo to formally introduce himself. So Tokugawa pulls out like a 2x4, some cinder blocks, some bottles, and then Doppo just starts breaking everything. The first thing that he breaks is the cinder blocks, and then he slices the bottles, and then he kicks the 2x4 in half with straight up precision on every strike that he does to these things. Yo, Miyamoto is not impressed at all. He said this is less martial arts being displayed and more of a dance. Doppo is pissed off. He's feeling disrespected. He said, oh, you think it's a dance? Well, let's see if it's really a dance and put it to the test right here, right now. Yo, Doppo tried to headbutt Miyamoto, and right before he was able to make contact, boom, Hand right there. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yo, my man Miyamoto starts rubbing the back of his head talking about forgive me. I wanted to tease you a little. Ooh, Miyamoto is a beast, y'all. So now Miyamoto is giving Doppo his props. He's saying, look, by seeing you break those bottles 2x4 and cinder blocks, you dropped like 5 people, right? But Doppo is still feeling disrespected because he got his bald head rubbed. So now Doppo is like, listen, nah, don't flatter me. Let's get to it. So Miyamoto is like, okay, well, go on. So Miyamoto generates those invisible swords. Doppo is seeing it. Miyamoto holds up one like this. And Doppo is like, I feel like a sword is being pointed at me. And all of a sudden, Miyamoto goes on the attack, strikes him one time, but Doppo, he dodges that one, blocks it, and then Miyamoto slices him. And then Miyamoto busts out laughing. He was like, see, Doppo, I told you what you was doing was a dance, and then punched that boy right between the eyes. Yo, so Doppo does this backflip handstand, right? And he gets up, he gets in the stance, and Miyamoto's confused. He was like, how are you still standing? Didn't I cut you? And then Doppo was like, yeah, but you didn't cut me with real swords. You cut me with an invisible one. You used your technique. You mimicked the cut. So now Miyamoto was like, okay, Tokugawa, you got a real sword? And Tokugawa is like, yes. So he goes and grabs a sword, a real one. So Miyamoto has a real sword right now, and Tokugawa is losing his mind. He's like, Doppo, what are you doing? You know that this is the real Miyamoto, right? I'll explain to you how he's the real Miyamoto. And Doppo's like, I don't care. I know he's the real Miyamoto. That's why I wanted him to have a real sword. And then Tokugawa is like, what are you doing giving the best samurai to ever live a sword? And then Doppo, you know how Doppo is, man. You know he's stubborn, braggadocious. He's like, I am the god of martial arts. My whole body is a weapon. Yo, Miyamoto just cooked Doppo. He says, you call yourself the god of martial arts, but your fragile body can't even cut paper, but you talk about how your body is a spear and blades, and starts laughing at him. Yo, then he says, what you doing, Doppo, is maybe less than a dance. And Doppo lunges at him with a high kick, and Miyamoto grabs his sword, boom, right in the middle of his face, drops him. But he doesn't cut him at all. He just dropped him. He's like, nah, I didn't cut him. Look, he spared Doppo big time. And then he explained to Tokugawa that he didn't cut him because Tokugawa thought that he sliced that boy in half. So then Miyamoto grabs one of those pieces of wood that Doppo was, cutting in half, with his kicks or whatever, and then he slices it with his sword and says, see, you'd have to apply more pressure in order for me to cut somebody. He gives Doppo his props because Doppo did connect, because Miyamoto was bleeding right there, but Doppo couldn't say or do anything. He was basically like paralyzed, could not move at all because he's been cut down. All right, so Tokugawa and Doppo are sitting down discussing how Miyamoto got brought back to life, how he's a clone, and then Doppo starts recapping on the sparring or fight, whatever you want to call that interaction between him and Miyamoto, and how Miyamoto basically humbled him because he did not kill him. He spared him, and he pressed his sword against him, his face, from actually making a cut on him. And he's like, man, this is one of the most humbling experiences that I've ever had. So Tokugawa asks him, are you going to continue to try to fight him again, or are you just going to stop, withdraw from it? And Doppo is like, listen, I'm going to withdraw from the world for a bit because I'm going to have to recalibrate. So we're moving on to Retsu, and he's holding a press conference because he did this exhibition boxing match against a guy named Mr. Bolt, and he's breaking down how he defeated him and how he was restricted, so he only beat him head up, did not get to use all of his Chinese Kung Fu techniques. And he's talking about how he don't care if it was an exhibition or not. He got the belt. He's dedicated to Chinese Kung Fu. That's the end of the story. Nothing else matters. So the reporters are asking him, what is he going to do next? Well, Retsu's like, I'm done with boxing because I want to use every single skill and weapon that has anything to do with Kung Fu. And there is a new guy that has arrived in Japan, and I got to use all of these skills and these weapons on him. We already know we're talking about Miyamoto, baby. So Katsumi and Retsu are sitting down, and Katsumi is telling Retsu that Doppo got defeated by Miyamoto. He got thrashed down, and now that, you know, Katsumi's father, Doppo, has been taken out, eat fair and square now, mind you. No tricks, no nothing. He wants to fight Miyamoto to prove himself, right? And then Retsu is like, well, you know he uses a weapon, right? And then Katsumi is like, listen, I got one arm missing, you got one leg missing, so karate and Kung Fu should be sufficient enough to face Miyamoto. Then they start talking about how they saw Miyamoto on the news and how he dropped all of those officers in precision style. And then you got Katsumi, he's starting to doubt himself, and then Retsu was like, hey, don't doubt yourself. Use your weapons. That's what they are there for. And then the episode ends. Yo, Doppo getting dropped like that was crazy. I mean, he took him out like this. Easy, light work. Loved it. And I'm glad that Retsu has been shown now on this series, because I was like, man, where's Retsu at? But he is here. This is getting interesting, y'all. Don't forget to like the video, sub to the channel, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.